Welcome to another Commander Countdown with the Nitpicking Nerds.
In this video, the top 15 sorceries, with me, in all of Commander.
Of all time.
Forever.
I'm your host, Joe Cherries.
I'm your host, Beezy, and that makes us the Nitpicking Nerds, obviously. Come hang out with us personally in the Discord. You can join for free. I have to shout it out because it's such good value for you.
Yes, and if you love us and you love everything about us, head over to Patreon and give us some money to help support the channel. We love when you do that.
Top 15 sorceries. That was the only thing we're going to say. Now we're in the list. Boom, you're already in the video. Going to do quick honorable mentions here. There's like a little CDH shout out we want to give to Doomsday. Couldn't really crack the list. This list is sort of like regular Commander, and we do take some CDH into account, but this isn't like a CDH list, even though that list will be close to this list.
I think a great way to look at it is if we do power levels 1 through 10, CDH is just 10, okay? So I think it's 10% of a push in here. So Doomsday's not quite going to make it. It really doesn't crack outside of VDH. Sometimes there's like some really powerful 9s, but not often. So Doomsday, great card. If you're looking to combo off, get that one in there.
Yeah, but it's very specific. And then these next two are just honorable mentions. They are probably 16 and 17 as far as we can tell. It's Treasure Cruise and Diabolic Intent. Couldn't think of the name there. It's build around Ancestral Recall and then build around Demonic Tutor. Yeah, those cards are very good.
Yeah, exactly. They're built around two of the best cards in Magic. Yeah, the Diabolic Intent's great if you're in an Aristocrats or you care about sacrificing. Treasure Cruise is, it's just great.
Yes. So what's number 15?
Number 15 is Blasphemous Act. 8 in a red. Deal 13 damage to each creature. This spell costs 1 less for each creature on the battlefield. So this is one of the best board wipes in all of EDH, often being cast for 1 mana, 2 mana, 3 mana, simply because the board gets clogged so easy. There's 4 players. Everyone's throwing down a creature or two, so it's easy to cast this for almost nothing.
Yeah, a lot of the cards on this list, they're going to do their thing with very little requirement from you. This one is a board wipe. Yeah, it's not busted. It's not going to win you the game, but the utility of it is like through the roof.
Yeah, exactly. I think the main utility and what makes this one so good is that you can cast it for almost nothing. So you get to double spell and turns late game. You just go Blasphemous Act for 1, 2 mana, and then refill your board. You're the first one to refill, which means you're the first one to untap with creatures.
Yeah, what if you have some kind... there's even further ways you can go. Like, I have an Indestructible threat. I have a Haste Commander. Okay, clear the board and just get in.
Exactly, yeah. This card is great. Again, it's all about lowering that cost. The only time the one weakness of this card is sometimes a creature does get out of that range of 13/13. It's like, that stinks. That's a 14/14, and it's going to kill me.
Very rarely, but sometimes.
I agree. Yeah.
Number 14 here, Expropriate. 7 blue. Each player chooses time or money. For each time vote, you get an extra turn. And for each money vote, you steal the best thing that player controls. So you're going to vote time. You get an extra turn. And unless they choose money, you're going to win with 2 extra turns and 2 things,
They almost always choose money. Money. Mr. Krabs in my head when he does money.
We covered both bases, I think.
I think we're covering all of the bases. We got I was going to say young generation, but SpongeBob came out when I was like 9.
Wow. We're still talking about this.
Yep. So Expropriate, though, very, very good Magic card. It's 9 mana, though. That's just one weakness. You're not going to see this in super high-powered CEDH decks.
No.
But this card is insanely strong. You win the game probably, realistically, I think it's 80% of the time you cast it. 1 out of 5 times, there's your opponents can do something, get around it.
Yeah, and then even then, if you win that game, it'll be the main contributing factor.
Yeah, it swings the game in your favor for sure. That is a 100%.
And I was thinking to myself, is this worse if you cast it really early? Because you're not going to win. It's nope, you just steal their lands.
No, it's absolutely insane. I've cast it's why it's not my on that deck. It's so easy to cast on turn 5.
Yeah, and with that deck, you just play a fetch land, give 4 mana. Yeah, we're done.
Yeah, exactly. Super easy, and that was without ramping.
Yeah, it's just that's turn 5. Yeah, 2 spells. So Expropriate, kind of sort of a by itself win condition. It's a sorcery. That's a really good sorcery.
Yeah, it's incredibly strong. Next, we have Tooth and Nail. 5 green for a sorcery. Choose 1. Search your library for up to 2 creatures, reveal them, put them into your hand, and then shuffle your library. Next choice, put up to 2 creatures from your hand onto the battlefield. You can entwine this for 2, which means you get to choose both of the option. Well, if you didn't know, in EDH, there is probably about 70 or 80 2-card combos with this.
There are 82 2-card combos.
I don't know if that's actually true. It's probably a lot less than that, but it feels like there's a million.
Right. We don't need to list them here. Maybe Joe put a few on screen, but there's just enough 2 or 3-card combos that are just going to win you the game right now. It is so similar to Expropriate. I think it's a little better, but it's 9 mana. Let's go. If you have the cards in your deck, you 100% win instead of it's just a 1-card thing and you 80% win.
Yeah, I think that the difference, Expropriate is harder to interact with because only the spell part is what matters.
Yep.
And you can't even sacrifice the targets or anything because it doesn't target. But Tooth and Nail is going to get a win, and then it's going to put your opponents in the seat of, do you have an answer? You need an answer right now.
Yes, and assuming, depending on what the answer is, they can only answer one of the things you get.
Yep.
So then you still have a thing. It still feels pretty good. I mean, I will say either half of this is trash. You need the 9 mana version. Then you're cooking.
I mean, sometimes the 7 mana can be really good to put your creatures, because what can happen is you could just, if you have the combo in your hand, you could try and go off earlier with the
There is that.
early one.
Basically, don't pay 7 mana to search for 2 creatures.
Yeah.
You could say.
The only time I ever do that is if I've cascaded into it with no extra mana.
Yeah, then you're like, well, I guess I'll take it.
I'll take double Tutor for free, I guess.
Yes, so that was number 13. What's number 12?
Number 12 is Armageddon / Ravages of War. These are the exact same card, which is why they share a spot. 3 and a white for a sorcery, destroy all lands. This card needs to be used right, and most people do not use this card right. You set up your boards, you get ahead, you get the dominant board state, you have the most rocks, you put yourself in the dominant position, then you get rid of the lands. Now you're like 90% to win because your opponents don't have anything and you have a ton of resources. That's the goal of this card.
Right. Here's what you don't do. You don't go land, signet, land, Armageddon. It doesn't do anything for you. You just wasted everybody's time and you're probably hurting yourself at that point. You just build the most non-land permanents, wipe the board of lands. Now the winner is almost face up. If you're winning on board, you're going to crush everybody.
Yeah, exactly. It's tough to come back, especially the later in the game you do this. The later in the game you do this, the less resources they have in hand usually.
Yep.
So the less chance they have of rebuilding a board state.
Yeah, this isn't something you can undo. The lands are gone. They're destroyed. You don't have any resources to even get them back. Even if you have ways to get them back, like best case scenario, you're like Life from the Loaming, and that takes many, many turns.
I think a funny thing about this one is maybe this card is more powerful than number 12, but I think not seeing it often because of the unwritten rule of VDH of not going after lands.
Yeah, this is the only mass land destruction. We thought there's a couple other ones we were considering, Yakuhops and Decree of Annihilation, but they're like maybe in the 16 to 20 range.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're very good. Those 2 cards are also very good. They can also be win cons. Make sure you're using Armageddon as your win con. When you're not, it's just not a very powerful card.
Don't defensively destroy all lands, please. Number 11 is Living Death. 3 black. Each player exiles all creatures in their graveyard, then sacrifices all creatures they control, then returns the ones that were exiled to the battlefield. You just switch the cards in your graveyard and in play.
Yes, but it has to be ordered weirdly because it's a weird card. This card's really, really strong. It's a win con, simply put. You build the huge board, then you sack it all, you cast Living Death, you get it all back. You can create loops with things like Eternal Witness, where you can just keep doing this over and over again until the end of time.
Yeah, or you can just forget the whole casting spells thing, fill your graveyard, put 20, 30 cards in there, and then just go, well, time to find a critical mass win condition in these 18 creatures I just found. If one of them's Blood Artist, and you can do this a couple times, then you're just going to win anyway.
You see how you start doing your dredging. You're dredging over and over and over again. Your graveyard's filled up now. There's just a ton of creatures in there. This 5 mana spell now puts you just in the driver's seat, and on top of that, most likely board wipes your opponents.
Yeah, you're behind on board and you're the only graveyard deck. It's a board wipe with other text on it. You get your Wood Elves back for free.
Yeah, Living Death, it's strange because it doesn't read like it is a board wipe at all, but it is a board wipe. It gets all the creatures that are on the battlefield are in the graveyard. The backfiring and downside of this, you're playing other graveyard decks. They can get just as much advantage as you, or on top of that, maybe there's an Aristocrats deck, but they just have a sack outlet, so you're not getting anything out of doing it to them. You're literally just giving them whatever triggers.
Yeah, so that is 5 mana. There's some niche downsides, but mostly powerhouse sorcery. And I've noticed I can tell you right now, the sorceries are not going to be nearly as strong as the instants.
I didn't think about it, but probably not.
Usually sorceries are just weaker anyway.
I mean, sorcery as a type is much weaker than instant because this is the stupidest thing in Magic. Instants are just sorceries with flash.
Yes.
It's something they can't fix now. We're gone. We're past that. If we're restarted, we would just have sorceries with flash.
Yep.
That's how Magic would be if you started from 0 right now.
Yeah,
but,
I think Mark Rosewater said that.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense because they are literally sorceries with flash.
Yeah, but so these are slow. Most of them have to do like a huge effect right away because you don't get the subtlety of like holding up a sword to plowshares and then getting somebody.
Yes, exactly. Next we have number 10, and it is Gamble. A red mana for a sorcery. Search your library for a card, put it into your hand, then discard a card at random. Okay, there's a couple ways to go about this. You go into your deck, you get your absolute best card, you put it in your hand, and you hope that the 1 in like 5 or 6 chance doesn't hit. Or alternatively, you get a card that you don't care about discarding, and you say, okay, maybe I'll discard this card, but it won't matter because if it's in the graveyard or if it's in my hand, it's strong.
Yes, I've had that happen many times with Life from the Loam and like Anger, where you go, I have a discard outlet. Tutor for it. If it goes in the graveyard, great, I cast Entomb. If it doesn't, discard a card. And now we got haste, or we got dredge, or whatever we need. Gamble, didn't expect the number 10 sorcery of all time to say the word random on it.
Yeah, but it really is. If you haven't played this card, 1 mana tutor that goes in your hand is insanely strong. Obviously, there's a downside of having to discard. You really, when you put it in decks that can have a ton of things they want in their graveyard or anything like that, this card just goes up and up in value, and you realize this is just a 1 mana tutor. Yep. This isn't just, the random doesn't matter because of how my deck is built.
Yeah, if you're a blue-red deck with a bunch of card draw, now you can get it to like a 1 in 12, and I'll take those odds every day.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, oh yeah, sometimes it's going to hit you. It's like, darn it, you got me. It's like, I guess, but not all the other times you go, oh, I win.
Right, like 90% of the time, my demonic tutor is 1 mana, and then the reason this isn't higher than maybe that card is, it has a random element.
Yeah, it has a random element, which is what keeps it at 10, honestly. I mean, obviously, this card is number 1 if it doesn't have the random element, but it's absolutely insane. I wonder, I never really thought about it. Gamble to put a card in your hand, then you just choose what you discard. That card's insane. Holy crap.
Oh, that's not even real.
I never really thought about it.
Oh, yeah, that's...
When it's just like, you remove the random element, all of a sudden this card is one of the best cards ever printed.
Yeah, if Gamble was printed in alpha, that's probably what it would say. All right, so we can move on to number 9, Reanimate. Simple. Black, sorcery. Return a creature from a graveyard to the battlefield under your control. You lose life equal to its converted mana cost. Wow, this is 1 mana, and we start at 40 life.
1 mana, you start at 40 life. You can get something big in the graveyard early so easily, and the fact that this is only 1 mana is what makes it so insane. Obviously, things like Animate That, also super insane. Like, it's not a sorcery, but that card's absolutely bonkers and strong too. But what if it was only 1 mana? What if we started at 40 life? Okay, this card's insane.
It's permanent. It's not tied to an enchantment or anything. It's just in play. There's no way to stop it from being play that isn't just getting rid of the creature. I've had so much success with Reanimate. You just feel like Reanimate is part of the reason you're winning on turn 2 or 3. You go Entomb, Reanimate. Like, that's the combo. Get back your thing, and now the thing, which is probably like Protein Hulk is the easiest go-to.
Yep.
I win. Okay. We're done.
Yeah, exactly. You just have to have a couple big splashy threats in your deck, and sometimes it doesn't even need to be a big splashy threat. If you let's just say you have a Blood Artist in your graveyard, all of a sudden you get a Blood Artist back. You cheated 1 mana on a Blood Artist, and that was like the worst case scenario for that card.
Yeah, when your graveyard gets full, you kind of can think of Reanimation as like a mini tutor. Well, I can tutor my whole graveyard. There's like 30 cards in there.
Yeah, exactly. Again, this is another card for graveyard decks where as soon as your deck doesn't care if something's in the graveyard and it's throwing stuff in there all the time, you're like, oh, this card just gets anything out of the graveyard? Oh, wait, my opponent discarded a huge... I'll take that.
Yeah, oh, you discarded like a Diluvian Primordial? Well, I'll just cast it right now.
Yeah,
for 1. I'll just reanimate your guy and then cast 2 more spells. No big deal. It's like turn 5.
Yeah, 2 more, 3 more.
Go crazy.
You get 1 from every graveyard except yours.
Yeah. That's not what I meant. I meant like it enables double or triple spelling for you.
Oh, I was just saying like, well, you said Diluvian Primordial.
Yeah, then we went down the Diluvian Primordial rabbit hole.
Yeah, you just get like a million spells. Maybe someone has a Reanimate. And then in someone else's graveyard is a Diluvian Primordial.
Ooh, and then there's a storm. Then there's a storm payoff in someone else's graveyard. Those fools.
What
are they playing?
They stacked our decks for us. Why is everyone playing Diluvian Primordial?
All right, halfway done. What's number 8?
Number 8 is Toxic Deluge. 2 and a black for a sorcery. As an additional cost to cast the spell, pay X life. Creatures get -X/-X until end of turn. Well, I'm just gonna give a mini spoiler here. In our opinion, this is the best board wipe for EDH of all time. It's insane. Nothing can get through by this, simply put. You cast this and you get to wipe the board. Nothing survives. I don't know if there is anything, like maybe persist creatures. Sure. Undying, that's about like it. And then after that, everything's gone. Your Ulamog gone. Blightsteel Colossus, gone. Those things are not on the battlefield.
Even death triggers that care about power, their power is 0 when they die. You don't get anything from it. Yeah, you spoiled it. I think this pretty much sums up. We think Toxic Deluge is the best board wipe, and then Blasphemous Act is the second best board wipe. And there's a couple below that, and maybe there's a few at instant speed, but Sorceries, that's it for board wipes. Toxic Deluge is like the cheapest, most efficient, takes out the most things, just does everything the best.
This is the best only creature wipe that there is. It's insane. I mean, the fact of the matter is the -X on top of being able to be whatever number you want it to be kills everything, like I said.
Unless you have the biggest thing, then it's a one-sided board wipe.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Is that good?
If you have a 7/7 and the biggest thing your opponent has is a 6/6, you get to keep your 7/7.
Wow, it just feels like cheating half the time when you cast this card.
Yeah, exactly. There's just not other board wipes quite like this.
Yes. So now we get to move on to, there's one more, and then I think none of these cards are fair. So number 7 here is Green Sun Zenith. X and a green for a sorcery. Search your library for a green creature card with mana cost X and put it onto the battlefield. This is any green creature in your deck plus a green mana. This is like one of the most versatile spells ever.
Yeah, I mean, this card is banned in Modern for a reason because it makes deck building kind of boring. Decks get very samey when you have this card in a format, and green is a prominent color. This card is super good. You have a chain basically in your deck at any cost, and you're going to go get your best thing at that cost, and it's going to fill a slot of like maybe you need payoff for like your aristocrat deck. Maybe you need a draw engine. Maybe you need, I don't know, something to buff your creatures. All of these are going to be on green creatures in your deck because you make it a toolbox deck.
There is no point in the game where this is not a useful card, and that alone is just, that's going to give it halfway up the list. And then turn 1, all right, I'll ramp. I'll just get Dryad Arbor with this.
Yeah,
this even pushes it even further.
Yeah, the fact that Dryad Arbor exists pushes this card to like a limit of like, wow, this card's insane. I mean,
the floor is a mana dork.
There's just not, what other card does? The floor is a mana dork.
Yeah.
And then the ceiling is a Craterhoof Behemoth or a win.
Or your Protein Hulk or a win, or the piece you need to stay alive, or the way to fill your graveyard. It does everything.
Yes, the card is incredibly strong. One of the best toolbox cards ever printed.
Yeah, it doesn't go in your hand. It goes into play. Not real.
People who have watched our other top 15s remember Birthing Pod. This is basically an early Birthing Pod. It's like they fit in the same decks. You're playing your toolbox decks where all your creatures have effects that you need. Boom, put this in your deck.
Yes.
Number 6 is Time Twister. Each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into their library, then draws 7 cards. In parentheses, it says, then put Time Twister into its owner's graveyard. Okay, this is basically, it's a wheel effect is what it is, but it shuffles your graveyard in, so it depends on if you care about that or not. This card is completely and utterly bonkers. It's draw 7. The whole point of when you play this card is you're emptying your hand, you're getting rid of everything, and you're going to take advantage of this in some way. Maybe you have a Nekwazar deck where your opponents are all going to take damage for drawing it. Maybe instead of having a Nekwazar deck, you're going to storm off because you just cast all the spells out of your hand. Then you Time Twistered, and now you have 7 more brand new spells.
Just the card velocity is, I'll say, almost unmatched. Just completely strong. You can set up Time Twister loops because it doesn't exile itself like a lot of the other effects do. Mm-hmm. Pretty much every effect after was like, okay, don't do this again, please. And so this one just lets you go over and over. It stays in your graveyard. It's a Power 9 card. It's part of the Power 9 and is legal in Commander for some reason. I don't know why, but it is.
Yes, this card is absolutely just, it's such a powerhouse. It's so strong. If you've never cast a Time Twister, well, you probably haven't because it's like $3,000. Yeah. But I suggest you proxy one and cast it, and then you'll be like, oh, that's why it was number 6. This card's insane.
And it's number 6. We got 5 more to go.
Yeah, exactly. This card, oh my God. And this card combines with also the Narsets and the Hull Breachers of the Notion Thieves. It combines with all those cards to just win the game for you.
Yeah, that's a 2-card win. As far as I'm concerned, as close as you can possibly get to just game over.
Yeah, it has to put you in a 99 point something % to win the game from there.
Moving into the top 5, we have a very similar card, Wheel of Fortune. 2 in a red, each player discards their hand, then draws 7. That is all. These are like almost the exact same card. One is like graveyardish hate because everybody else's graveyards go away. This one says you can still use your graveyard, so we gave it the tiny nudge above Time Twister.
It has more combos. I think that CDH here was the tiebreaker because in CDH there is the Let's see, LED, which is Lion's Eye Diamond, Wheel of Fortune, and what is the other card?
Salvagers? Or are you talking about
Underworld Breach?
Oh yeah,
Underworld Breach, LED, Wheel of Fortune. These 3 cards together, they just win. I don't know exactly how it works. I know that you'll always be able to fuel it over and over again because you're discarding cards every time.
you discard 6 or 7.
Yeah, just throw any win con in there. Throw in your Thassa's Oracle, your whatevers.
Yeah, you have free mana sources from there. So Wheel of Fortune lets you do slightly more crazy stuff, and we just talked about the actual effect of it, of drawing 7. So let's move on to number 4.
Number 4 is Imperial Seal. 1 black for a sorcery. Search your library for a card, then shuffle your library. Put that card on top. You lose 2 life. If you don't know, this is Vampiric Tutor, but it's a sorcery. It's not as good as Vampiric Tutor, so when we do our instance list, I would look for that to be really high.
Yeah, although maybe there's instances that are trying to beat it out.
I mean, it's definitely going to be in the top 5. I would be shocked if Vampiric Tutor doesn't make the top 5 of instance.
Yes, one of the things about Vampiric Tutor is a lot of times I just cast it at sorcery speed because I want a tutor that goes into my hand. So you're just, all right, tap this thing or sacrifice this rock to draw a card and cast my best spell.
Yeah. If you don't know, tutors are absolutely insane. They're always the best spell in your deck. They can help you in any case of anything you ever need. Turn 2, you're going to miss your land drop. Well, I played this turn before to make sure I drew that land, to make sure I didn't miss my land drop. You can do anything. It gets you your win cons. It gets you your hate pieces. It gets you your interaction. It literally is the best card in your deck.
Right. I mean, turn 1, all right. I mean, I'll go. You do go down a card. I'll go down a card to get Mana Crypt. I'll play it on turn 2 and then play a 4-drop. Let's go.
Exactly. Yeah. You do go down a card. That is the downside of the Imperial Tutor, Vampiric Tutor effect, is that this is put on top and this card goes to your graveyard. But regardless of any of that, there's a reason this is banned in Legacy, restricted in Vintage.
It's just legal nowhere because it's too good. And we only get 1 copy, but when this gets a reprint, it's going to see a lot of play.
Yeah, absolutely. What's next?
It's Time Spiral, another wheel effect for blue for sorcery, obviously. Each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into their library, then draws 7. Then you exile Time Spiral, when you untap 6 lands. So this costs goose egg.
0 mana, absolutely insane. You cast a spell, you do the same thing that you just did with Time Twister, but now you untap 6 lands. All your lands are untapped. You didn't spend anything. You get the same effect. It's a little more expensive, but the fact is, at the end, you net paid 0 for this.
You net paid 0. Now you want to storm off now? You got all your mana. You have mana that produces more than 1. Like, did you cast High Tide? Do you have dual lands or some kind of effect out? Because then you're just going insane. This is like top tier storm card and like just combo-tastic. If you like copy this and then you can cast all your instants and float mana and keep doing stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, on the base, it's also insane. Again, you go down to like no cards in your hand, you cast this, all of a sudden you have a fresh hand, and you spent no mana. All your lands are untapped.
Yeah, what about 0 mana, draw 5? Is that good?
0 mana, draw 4, 3. All of these are insane.
0 mana, draw 1. I'll take it. Assuming I don't want the other 6.
Yeah, exactly. This card, completely bonkers. We already talked about how the wheel effects are insane. We can't really go into too much more detail. It's still the same as Wheel of Fortune and Time Twister, except it costs 0 mana.
Yeah, with wheel effects, you just want to win real soon because you're getting 7 new cards, but your opponents are getting 21 new cards. So just end the game like ASAP.
Yeah, be aware that you are also giving your opponents resources with all these cards. They're all insane. They're all very good, and they all belong up here. But if you play them incorrectly, you're ultimately helping your opponents more than you.
Don't play Time Spiral Pass. Do not do that.
Yeah, that's not where you want to be.
Luckily, I don't know if anyone's ever done that in the history of the world.
Probably not.
Number 2, what is it?
Natural Order. 2 green. As an additional cost to cast this card, sacrifice a green creature. Search your library for a green creature, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Have you heard of this card? If you haven't, it just wins games. It gets a Creator of Behemoth. It gets your anything. It's
Protean
just Protean Hulk. That's the other card I was thinking of. It gets anything. Again, it's a tutor, and this goes to the battlefield. 4 mana for the best creature in your deck seems pretty good.
It can still get multicolored creatures. I know they do Progenitus and Legacy. Obviously, we don't have to go Progenitus, but we can get a better thing. Start, maybe you have a Woodfall Primus combo. Maybe you just have 5 creatures and a Crater Hoof Behemoth. Maybe you have no creatures and a Dryad Arbor, and you just want to win right now with Protean Hulk and High Market.
Yeah, there's a million and 2 different ways to just win with this card. It's so simple to win. And on top of that, it's if you need it. Say you have Protein Milk on the field, it's a sack outlet to win the game. Yeah. Randomly. It can randomly just be that on top of everything else it does.
It is. The sack effect is uncounterable. It's the cost to pay the spell, so the creature goes into the graveyard as you put it on the stack. It's like Green Sun Zenith, but you're now cheating mana. Green Sun Zenith never cheats mana. It's always one more. Mm-hmm. This cheats mana everything, 4 higher than 4. And then it just goes into play. And then you just laugh at how easy it was. It's all too easy for you when you play Natural Order.
It is. It's so easy to win with this card. If you again, a lot of these cards I feel like up at the top here, not a lot of people have played because one, they're expensive. I mean, Natural Order is in some sort of reasonable range. I still think it's like
20 to 30.
Yeah, somewhere between 20 and 40. It's somewhere in that range.
It's a mythic rare price.
Yeah, it's a mythic rare price. It's a great card. It just gets your win counts. It can be boring, but also on top of that, if you don't want to win with this card, it's still incredibly strong. You're still cheating mana for some insane, awesome creature you love. Go get your Quartzwood Crasher. Sure, you cheated 1 mana and you got an awesome thing that you just love to have.
I use this to get Imperial Archangel.
Yeah, exactly.
It's 8 mana. It's a green creature, technically. I think a lot of people could be playing this that don't. Another one that comes to mind that I'll mention one more is Regal Force with an elf deck. You just draw 7.
Yeah, exactly. This card doesn't have to be the win the game spell. It can also just be an incredibly strong card that just gets you card advantage. Again, it lets you be toolboxy again because if you put the Regal Forces, the Crater of Behemoths, now you can get a win con. Now you can get some draw if you need draw.
It's just crazy.
It's completely. Get your Beast Whisperer. Maybe you have like a bunch of elves in your hand. You're like, all right, I need something to draw with these elves. Oh, get Beast Whisperer. Okay, now I cast like 3 elves.
I think I've actually had it come up where I needed to get Eternal Witness, which then got back Natural Order, and I just sacked Eternal Witness for something else to make a loop that involved Eternal Witness.
Interesting.
Even that doesn't even exile itself. Just another cherry on top. But we got one more. So number 1 sorcery of all time. I'm guessing you knew, but it's Demonic Tutor. 1 and a black for a sorcery. Search your library for a card. Put it into your hand. Shuffle your library. That's all. This is your best card at all times for 2 mana. The difference in mana for tutors is enormous. 2 is a lot cheaper than 3, which is a lot cheaper than 4.
Yes, it's completely and utterly insane. I mean, again, we can't stress enough how great tutors are and how insanely strong they are. They're actually some of the most boring cards in EDH because they just lead to samey gameplay, but that doesn't make they're not strong. You put this any black deck. If you're building a black deck and you want it to be strong, it will automatically. This is 100% an auto include. Like all the other ones in this list, I don't think there's anything I would call an auto include. This is an auto include in any black deck.
Yeah, I was gonna say check out the rest of this list. There are costs to playing every other spell on here, or requirements of your deck that you have to meet. What's the requirement of Demonic Tutor? Play Magic? Okay, I'm already doing that. This card's amazing.
The requirement is be in black.
Yeah.
Be playing a black deck so that this is a legal card within your deck. And then you know what you did? Oh, wait, you're just playing one of the best cards ever printed in Magic.
Yes. One of the original and best cards ever made.
Yes. It's literally from Alpha. It is bonkers. It's one of the best cards ever made because it gets whatever you need for the situation. I'll do it one more time. You're missing a land drop, get a land. You're missing a draw spell, get a draw spell. You're missing a win con, get a win con. It gets whatever you need for the situation. It's amazing. But that is our video. Special shout outs to every single one of our patrons. They make these videos possible. They let us produce daily videos, daily content currently. If you're enjoying that, let us know. We love you all as much as we can without making you uncomfortable. Thank you. I've been talking to a couple, one of our patrons just been messaging me. We've been messaging back and forth. She likes the video. You're going to love this, BZ. He wants, when we do gameplay, he's willing to drive here to be in a gameplay video. I told him, all right, why not? You're a patron.
Okay.
If you're willing to make the effort to come to us, we'll 100% play a game with you. Almost, that's true for most of our fans.
Yes. Yeah, I won't add anything. I was like, are people going to message us now? Probably not. So you can go to the TCG player link in the description that we have for you to support the channel through other ways. You can just buy cards you want that you were going to buy anyway. But if you use a special link and you start there, then navigate where you want to go, we just get money for free. So it's just you're creating money for the Nitpicking Nerds economy.
Exactly. You're supporting this channel without spending any extra money on. You were going to buy that Gaia's Cradle anyway. We know you're thinking about buying Gaia's Cradle. We saw it. So now instead of going to some other website, go to TCG Player, click on through that link, and all of a sudden, the Nitpicking Nerds just got supported, and you have a Gaia's Cradle.
And you supported local businesses? What? That's who works on TCG. That's who puts the cards up.
Yeah, that's who sells on TCG Player. But how about a tidbit about our life? I think it's your turn.
I've been shirking these off a lot. So after much deliberation about what my tidbit was going to be, I wanted to address something that people have commented about a lot. We know that since we've been doing shorts, we get a lot of recommendations for Grave Titan shorts. Don't worry. We got something in the works for that.
Yeah, we do. And on top of that, I wanted to mention from the other video, because this is a great tidbit. Everyone complaining about your OG duels not being in S tier. Poopy babies. Like 25 complaints. We never said the video was all based on power. We made the list. We made the rules. They go in A because they're not available. And if I have to explain this part again.
Joe Cherries thinks price matters?
It's all about price to you? No, it's not about price. It's about the fact that they're on the reserve list.
Which means you can't get them. Let's say there's only 100,000 underground seas that exist. That's not true of any other land, ever. You can't. What if 101,000 people want to play them? Too bad. It's a game piece.
Yeah, exactly. And some people seem to not understand this argument or what we're saying about this specific game piece. Reserve list cards, there's not enough for everybody. Yes, I understand. When I said they're not available, I understand I can go spend $1,000 and get an underground sea on eBay right now. I understand that. People are selling them because they keep going up in price.
Everyone can't do that.
Everybody can't do that. If everybody has the money and everyone has the means and everyone wants this in their deck, not everyone can get it.
And and then people are gonna say, just proxy it. It's Commander. It's like, that is not how this works. Why don't you proxy your duels? Because you have them, because you want them, because it's completely different, because it's illegal to proxy cards in a tournament setting, because people don't like that. And if somebody doesn't, I could just say, I don't like proxies, and you can't tell me, too bad, you don't get an underground seed. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Absolutely. Completely silly. We've made this argument a million times, and it is mind-boggling to me.
We just had to clarify for like the 10th time.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling to me that I have to clarify this at all because it seems pretty obvious that there shouldn't be a limit to any game piece. I mean, in every case of like there's a problem with like Sliver Legion was getting pricey. It was $130. Yeah. Oh wow, they have the ability to reprint that because it's not stuck on some stupid list.
Yeah, and the reserve list is here and we can't change it, but we think that you could take a step further and say proxies are cool or ban them, preferably ban them.
I agree. Now I'm leaving, and when you get my comment section, I explained everything right here. I'll explain it again.
No,
but in capital letters.
No, I will just respond with the code that we start this rant in the video. That's what I've been doing. But we're done.
Yeah, we're done.
Peace out. Grave Titan short incoming.
Peace out, Tribe Scout.